Hello to you out there. Yes, it is obviously not Fatima. This is Nansel Nimel. But it is the same insightful, analytical and entertaining news extra. And today's package is sure loaded. We will start from Dapchi, the small town that has been on the world map for reasons the citizens would wish would go away. But today, we tell you that the president himself is in Dapchi with a message of hope for the safe return of the girls. Today's Federal Executive Council meeting, the National Assembly all had fruitful deliberations, details of which we'll have here in extra dose. And also tonight, we bring stories on security, agri, business, education, and much more. So let's not keep you waiting. Once again, I'm Nansel Nimel, and this is News Extra. President Muhammadu Buhari has visited Dapchi community in Yobe State. And to kick off News Extra today, we'll be looking at some of the issues involved in that trip to Dapchi. I have here with me in the studio the Senior Special Assistant on Media to the President, Garba Shehu. You're most welcome to News Extra.
Thank you, and good to see you back on the screen.
Thank you so much. The President in Dapchi today, it's topical. What is the message he's carrying, and how will this build confidence in parents of the abducted, schoolgirls?
Well, it's important that the President himself was there, and for the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to be there in the theater of war. I think that itself is a statement of courage and statesmanship. The President was there with all of his delegation, with the ministers and the governors, literally immersed in the trauma, that had consumed the entire community of Dapchi since the abduction of the 110 girls. Yes, it was a message of hope that he took there, message of sympathy over the unfortunate incident. And also, as we have seen, or you probably would be seeing in the course of the news with the television pictures, a number of the parents, were broken in spirit at the commencement of this engagement. And it is important that after listening to the President, you could see that their spirits had been raised, and the hope is coming back, given the very strong assurances that they had received from the President that government would do everything under the sun to bring back those girls safely.
I think that's quite encouraging indeed. But one will be wondering, is there any other form of support being expected from the federal government, maybe by way of, relief items or what have you, to calm down the nerves?
Well, I have no information on anything like that, but I think that is a situation where people had been traumatized, and what needs to be done at this time is to see how can they give them back, how can they get back hope. As I said a short while ago, as they spoke through their representatives, the leader of the group himself could not go through his speech. He broke down in tears, and the whole thing that everyone came along and they were all crying. So the thing then is that for them to see hope that something is being done to bring back those girls. And at the end of this engagement, I'm sure that the President did not leave anyone in doubt that the capacity is there with the Nigerian government, the spirit and the armed forces of this country to do just anything, whether by way of rescue or securing their release through engagement, which the President has himself said he preferred.
We see a pattern has emerged where Mr. President has physically gone to some states, to hear firsthand what is happening in those areas. As to be expected, some people are reading political meanings into this. What do you have to say to that?
Well, I have had chances to also have explained that really if the president wanted to make political capital out of this, you know, the thing, the day that the incident in Benue, which tragic as it was, you know, I must also, it's the most glamorized by the media. The president would have jumped onto his plane and would have landed in Makodi and you know, wave flags and do politics with it. But the president's preference had been to act, not to talk. And this is evident from all of the things that have happened. Law enforcement has been reinforced in all of these areas to stem, you know, the tide of violence and to remedy the situation so that people would resume their own normal lives. People are entitled to their own opinions, but certainly politics is out of this. The initial statement issued when the president set out on these, you know, voyages, if you will call them, was that he had been briefed adequately. He had read all of the reports, and he now wanted to have a real feel of the situation on the ground, and this is what we're seeing. Yes.
You talked about action being taken and what have you. Well, immediately after, if we go back to Dapchi, the abduction of the girls, there were people who were talking of sending hundreds of, you know, planes and all that into the air to go after them. But now you've talked about government exploring the option of dialogue and negotiation to set them free. Why the choice of that instead of going in with the troops and, you know, bombing in everywhere?
Well, according to the explanation given by the president, he wants to bring them back in safety. Exactly. It's easy for people to, you know, to just send the planes and start bombing each area that is suspected of harboring the thing. But the thing then is damage will be done. In fact, you will lose everything because the terrorists will be killed, but you're also going to lose the girls. And in the end then, what are you bringing back to those, you know, distraught parents? So yes, I think much of it, Air Force and all of that, is to surveil the environment in case there is movement, because 110, you know, human beings is quite a large number that anybody can move without being noticed, especially in the days of in these days of satellite imagery and all of that. So a lot of that is going on. But yes, the president wants to engage so that there would be safety for the girls. They will come back as human beings, you know, not in coffins.
That's right. Well, we've seen the situation where at the beginning service chiefs were deployed to these theaters of operation. I know, being security-related operations, maybe Nigerians will not quickly be abreast of maybe what the security chiefs are doing. But what exactly is being done? Could you give us an idea without maybe going deeply into the security nature of the operations?
No, it will surprise you to also know that even, you know, as close as we are to some of to them, they don't let us into what they are doing, and I think that it is for the safety of the reason of the operation that they are undertaking. However, the impressive thing about all of the things that I have seen throughout today is that optimism, that hope that something will come out, that this will not be another Chibok saga, and it's very encouraging. But beyond that, there's really nothing that you can hold.
That's right.
All we hope is that all of the girls will be found and will be delivered to their homes and to their schools so that they continue their education.
That's the prayer of the nation.
That is true.
Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media, Garba Shehu, thank you very much for joining us on News Extra.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Let's now take the film report of the President's visit to Dapchi.
It was a historic moment of anxiety, apprehension, and emotional feeling as President Muhammadu Buhari pays a sympathy visit to Government Girls Science Technical College, Dapchi, where 110 students were abducted. Before now, not less than 4 high-powered federal government delegations visited the community on the orders of the president to find facts and strategize on rescue efforts. For the community leaders, parents, teachers, and schoolmates of the abducted girls, it was reassuring that the president is personally visiting.
We are very encouraged by the federal government under the able leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari and the Yobe State government under the leadership of His Excellency Ibrahim Gaidam are doing to rescue our students.
The district head of Dapchi, Kachala Uroma, and the representatives of the parents, Bashir Manzo, commended President Buhari for his genuine commitment to the rescue mission, which they hope and pray would result in their daughters coming back soon and alive.
President
Muhammadu Buhari, in an emotion-laden voice, formally sympathized with the people whose daughters, he said, were callously abducted by some unrepentant terrorists. He said several rescue teams are already combing the forest in the Northeast Theater of Operations following his ordered restructuring of the Joint Operational Base towards coordinating the rescue mission. President Buhari once again reassured them that the federal government will not relent until the girls are found unharmed and reunited with their families. The Nigerian leader has since returned to Abuja with a sword of peace. In Abuja, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Heads of state and government of the African Union are set to sign a framework agreement for the establishment of continental free trade area, viewed as an economic policy and regional integration. State House correspondent Jide Onifade has details of this and other deliberations at the Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja today.
The decision to establish the Continental Free Trade Area was taken by the African Union leaders in January 2012 in Addis Ababa. As Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Okechukwu Enelama explains, Nigeria played major role in the different framework agreements now approved by the Council.
It also approved for Nigeria to express an interest in preparing a bid to host, because it's going to need a secretariat where the work will be done.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyeama comments on the benefits of the free trade area to Nigerians.
And there are still a number of barriers, as our people go out to trade in other African countries and to invest in other African countries. And we believe that this will be a win for not just Nigeria, but for the other African countries, and lift a lot of our people out of poverty.
And it was the turn of Muhammadu Bello, Minister of Federal Capital Territory, to give account of the various projects under his ministry from 2015 till date to the Council.
The approach of the FCT administration towards completing major infrastructural projects that have the greatest possible impact on the largest number of people within the city was applauded. In addition to that, an approval was also granted to the FCT administration for the final engineering design of the Karsana districts.
A lot of obviously concerns understandably expressed on the issue of refineries and why they were taking so long to be pushed forward in terms of actual award of the contracts. We did explain the fact of the fact that in some of the instances we've had to slow down when we were asked by the Assembly to go begin the process again to ensure that it was transparently done.
In the past few weeks, the Minister of Water Resources has been having his proposals for completion of abandoned projects approved by the Federal Executive Council. And we asked him, when will this ever come to an end?
There's nothing we can do. It's not the entire 116 projects that we inherited that we are funding. It's a bad situation we inherited, but we have to make something good out of it. And the way to do it is to select some of them that we think have direct impact on the people and try to continue to fund them.
The minister said Council approved the construction of Jare Out Dam in Katsina State. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The Electoral Act amendment saga is getting more and more interesting. We all know what the National Assembly did, reordered the elections timetable. The president declined assent, giving reasons. Now, some concerned parties have run to the judiciary to step into the matter by restraining the National Assembly from taking any step to override the president's veto, pending the determination of a suit before it. The restraining order was given by the Federal High Court Judge, Justice Ramat Mohammed, after hearing a motion filed by a Accord Party of Nigeria. Femi Okeowo tells us more.
What started as an electoral responsibility of INEC and a constitutional duty of the National Assembly has now come full circle with the judiciary involved. The court has now intervened in the electoral amendment process following a suit filed by Accord Party at the Federal High Court in Abuja. Accord Party is seeking to stop the National Assembly from passing a law to amend the sequence of election. And now, with the president withholding assent, counsel to Accord Party Chief Wole Olanipekun had to move an oral application before Justice Ramat Mohammed, seeking a preservation order that will ensure that the National Assembly does not go ahead with the other processes of overriding the president's veto, thereby retaining the status quo ante, pending the determination of the main suit before the court. This the court granted.
The court says preservative order is made so that every party will respect the institution of the judiciary. By extension, every party will respect also the constitution.
The court has held in its view that it is only fair and in the interest of justice for the parties, especially the National Assembly, to tarry a while.
But this order is to last till Tuesday, 20th of March, when all the parties are expected to argue the motion by Accord Party on the Electoral Amendment Bill. In Abuja, Femi Okeowo, NTA News.
The House of Representatives says it will retransmit the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which President Muhammadu Buhari declined assent. The Chairman House Committee on Media and Publicity, Representative Abdulrazak Namdaz, made the disclosure while briefing National Assembly correspondents on the status of bills before the House. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nko reports.
Accordance with the electoral.
Representative Abdulrazak Namdaz explained that the House of Representatives agrees with the two of the reasons given by the President, but disagrees with the President over the first reason that amendment to the sequence of election will infringe upon the constitutional discretion of INEC to organize, undertake and supervise elections.
In view of this, we will regazette the Electoral Act itself and expunge the areas that we are in agreement with the President. And in line with the Constitution, we will expunge those areas and then bring back for debate and then follow the procedure of first reading, second reading. We will pass it and retransmit it to the President for assent.
The spokesperson of the House listed 10 bills the House proposes to override the President's veto, including the Nigerian Peace Corps Establishment Bill. The House of Representatives Joint Committee on Justice and Judiciary investigating the hijab controversy between the Nigerian Law School Firdausi Amasa, a law graduate, has suspended its hearing indefinitely following a court injunction on the committee.
But we will get to it. Be rest assured, we will get to it. Nobody can stop Parliament from executing its function. Nobody.
But the decision did not go well with Islamic groups at the committee hearing, who protested against the order of the courts. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nko, NTA News.
And watchers of electioneering in Nigeria will agree that such periods are usually characterized by a high level of tension arising from inciting speeches by politicians. We are now entering into an election year, and the campaign against hate speech is also gathering momentum. Now, the Human Rights Commission has joined the fight by setting in motion a chain of activities to promote peaceful campaigns against hate speech. Abdullahi Muhammad brings us some of the details of one such activity in Kaduna.
There is no doubt that hate speech has played critical roles in fueling crisis that led to the destruction of lives and properties the world over. Its elements, analysts say, was prominent in the campaign strategies of some politicians during the 2015 elections. For the National Human Rights Commission, inciting statement shouldn't have a place in Nigeria's politics, and to put an end to this despicable act, it brought together critical stakeholders with a view to drive home the consequences of hate speech and the capacity of the law to deal with the perpetrators of the act.
We are also expecting the political parties to enlighten their members, because they are the people who are going to predominantly use hate speeches on their campaigns, so that at the end of the day, everybody is aware, and then we can have a society free of use of hate speech.
Experts were on hand to suggest ways of stopping hate speech.
People should be sensitive, not to be provoked by hate speech instances, and then they should avoid and stay away from engaging in hate speeches, so that we will have a peaceful 2019 elections and beyond.
People should abstain from discriminating statements that will hinder somebody's faith.
Some politicians argue that hate speech is not perpetuated by politicians seeking for office, but a few who commit the act under immunity.
People on power usually behave in such a manner and say certain things that are really unquestionable or unwarranted.
With mobile devices like this one in the hands of millions of Nigerians offering a variety of platforms for the dissemination of information, sharing inciting statement has become easier. But the good news is that all the apparatus responsible for dealing with perpetrators of the act are up and doing. In Kaduna, Abdullah Mohammed, NTA News.
Thank you, Abdullahi. Up ahead, House of Representatives to investigate abuse of IDPs, and Germany supports Nigeria in the fight against insurgency. Details after these messages. Welcome back from the commercial break. News Extra now continues from where we started today, the northeastern part of the country. President Muhammadu Buhari is reassuring parents, Nigerians, and the international community that the federal government will do everything within its power towards ensuring that the abducted schoolgirls from Dapchi are brought back safely. Addressing community, religious and political leaders in Damaturu, the president was emphatic that as government unravels the circumstances surrounding the incident, any person, group or agency found to have been negligent or culpable in the dastardly act will be appropriately dealt with. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
Without doubt, this is the most difficult and trying moment for the people of Yobe State following the February 19th abduction of over 100 schoolgirls from Dapchi community by the Boko Haram insurgents. In spite of the prevailing mood, however, the enthusiastic Yobeans could not help demonstrating their genuine love, affection and respect for President Muhammadu Buhari, whose visit inspires hope and confidence that the end of their traumatic experience is in sight. And the optimistic spirit of the people was further heightened at a town hall meeting in the government house, Damaturu, where President Muhammadu Buhari, without mincing words, promised that the abducted schoolgirls will either be released or rescued.
There will be no rest till the last girl, whether from Chibok or Dapchi, is released. The girls, like all our students, must enjoy unhindered freedom and pursue their legitimate aspirations. The Dapchi and Chibok students are our girls and must enjoy our protection. They must live to achieve their individual ambitions to be great women of tomorrow. It is our duty to protect them. We are determined to restore peace to all parts of the country.
While expecting the report of the 12-man committee set up to investigate the abduction of the schoolgirls for implementation, the president ordered security agencies to brief him 24 hours on the successes or challenges of the rescue operations.
I have not left any stone unturned in making sure that the girls are rescued. While calling for calm, I implore affected parents and families to refrain from making statements that may jeopardize the success of the rescue mission. The government under my watch, will continue to maintain normalcy and ensure that incidents of this nature are stopped. Be assured that measures are being put in place to achieve these objectives.
Appropriate federal government authorities have also been asked to be in constant touch with the Yobe State government and other neighboring states to ensure common strategy and line of action. The federal government, he said, is aware of orchestrations by some evil elements to take advantage of the development to score cheap political points, insisting, however, that his administration's response to the Dapchi school girls' abduction is a clear departure from the insensitivity of the past government, which looked the other way when Chibok girls were taken away in 2014. Both the governor of Yobe State, Ibrahim Gaidam, and the chairman, Yobe State Council of Traditional Rulers, appreciated President Muhammadu Buhari for the show of concern and fatherly disposition to the people in need, and assured him of the support and cooperation of their followers in complementing efforts at rescuing the schoolgirls.
These developments have raised our hopes, and we remain in high spirit that right steps and strategies are being taken by the federal government towards ensuring that the abducted schoolgirls are found and returned to their parents in good health. We have no doubt in our mind that the visit of Mr. President is a demonstration of concern to matters that affect the welfare of our citizens.
In whatever circumstances we find ourselves, our firm belief in the victory of good over evil would not be shaken by such setbacks. With Almighty Allah as our guide, we, the good people of Yobe State, will continue to remain prayerful for peaceful coexistence, prosperity to reign, and for the activities of the insurgents to be brought to an end soon.
President Buhari was accompanied on the visit by Governor Kashim Shettima of Borno State, several ministers, service chiefs, and heads of various security agencies. From Damaturu, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And in view of the important role played by the Central Bank of Nigeria in the growth and development of the economy, the Senate has, contrary to its earlier position of declining to screen, referred to the Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions an executive communication from President Muhammadu Buhari. The President's request is for confirmation of the nomination of individuals as members of the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and confirmation of nominations of 2 persons for appointment as Deputy Governor of the CBN. Here is National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegunloye with details on the importance of these nominations.
The Monetary Policy Committee is the highest policy-making committee of the CBN and is mandated to, among other things, review monetary policy framework and adopt changes where necessary. The legislators have conceded that, in view of the cancellation of the last MPC meeting due to inadequate membership, it has become necessary to hasten considerations of the nominations put forward by President Muhammadu Buhari.
I therefore move that the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, be referred to the appropriate committee for further legislative action.
I rise to second the motion as moved by the leader, even as we had highlighted the significance of this exercise.
Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act to repeal the Raw Materials Research and Development Council Act of 2004 and reenact the 2018 version passed second reading.
Value addition of raw materials that are in abundance is one of the ways through which we can generate a lot of employment to our economy.
A bill for an act to amend the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria Act of 2004 to provide for the establishment of national stations in each geopolitical zone, Abuja and Lagos, also passed second reading. Senator representing Niger North, Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, sponsored a bill for an act to provide for public service efficiency, which was passed for second reading.
The public service has the major responsibilities for maintenance of continuity and stability, and it's designed to be the prime mover of rapid socio-economic development of any nation.
The major issue is that in the course of delivering government services, public servants are not held accountable.
Senator representing Nasarawa South, Suleiman Adokwe, led tribute to late former Governor of Nasarawa State, Aliu Akwedoma, who passed recently.
The late Alhaji Aliu Akwedoma enjoyed an excellent career in civil service of northern Nigeria, Benue Plateau, and Plateau states, culminating in attaining the pinnacle as a permanent secretary.
A delegation will pay a condolence visit to his family, and a minute's silence was held in his honor. From the National Assembly, Dennis Adigumloye, NTA News.
The feeling of staying in confinement, especially away from home, is enough to cause disenchantment and maybe disillusionment. But being an object of abuse by those who are supposed to protect you further compounds the situation, more than the feeling of nostalgia. And this appears to be the state of some internally displaced persons in Nigeria, as it has been alleged that some have been raped and dehumanized by group operators. Worried by this development, the House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the allegations. Ignatius Nkwo reports.
The stories of rape allegedly committed against women and girls in internally displaced persons camps in the Northeast by camp officials who are expected to protect them have continued to make headlines. The need to protect the fundamental rights of these Nigerians resonated on the floor.
The already vulnerable
Representative Hassan Saleh from Benue State moved the motion for the House to look into the matter.
In a situation whereby young girls that are already vulnerable, that ran away from their various homes or communities for fear of being killed or harmed, run into safety in these camps to be molested.
The motion on the urgent need to conduct a comprehensive audit of all contract agreements entered into between the Abuja Investment Company and its subsidiaries and revenue accruable from the contracts and remittances was adopted as moved by Representative Prestige OC from Abia State, as Representative Emmanuel Ukwete from Akwa Ibom State moved that the River Basin Development Authorities focus on their statutory mandate to reduce Nigeria's dependency on rain-fed agriculture was also adopted.
Abuja Investment Company Limited, its subsidiaries and affiliates have become a source of revenue leakage and fraud running into billions of naira.
Urge the Federal Ministry of Water Resources to come up with strategies to resuscitate the River Basin Development Authorities to enable them achieve their statutory mandate.
Suspended former chairman of the House Committee on Appropriation, Abdul Mumin Jibrin, has resumed plenary. The House in the Committee of the Whole considered and approved the report of its ad hoc committee that investigated the production and distribution of drinks by the Nigerian Bottling Company. The committee, among other issues, recommended that the company must print a warning label on Fanta and Sprite that the combination of the products and ascorbic acid, that is vitamin C, is harmful. Meanwhile, Speaker Yakubu Dogara says the banking sector can contribute to the fight against violence, terrorism and other forms of criminality through the provision of access to soft loans for Nigerian youths. He was speaking at a meeting with a delegation from the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria.
And that is lack of opportunities, and we see that manifesting in violent crimes, in terrorism. Most of the people doing this, or the young people who are involved in these kidnapping, sundry acts of criminality.
The meeting was part of the House of Representatives' commitment to promote banking reforms in the country. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Peace and peace building is arguably what Nigeria needs now, and urgently too. That is why any joining efforts towards this must be encouraged and taken seriously. This is why it is heartening to know that the research findings and recommendations of the Kuka Center towards peace building in the Northeast have been presented to policymakers for consideration. The recommendations, John Yaku reports, provide an insight into how to respond to crisis and build peace in Nigeria.
The activities of Boko Haram in the northeast Nigeria over the years have grounded the socio-economic life of the people in the region. With the decimation and total takeover of the Boko Haram base, attention of concerned groups is to initiate peace-building process within the region for harmonious coexistence. Against this backdrop, the Kuka Center carried out a research and presented recommendations for peace process in the region.
The type of knowledge and skills you require to protect the airport is different from the type of skills you require to protect a school. It's different from the type of skills you require to protect a hospital.
Director General, Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, and other speakers are in agreement with this.
The study is small, it's focusing on aspects that previously we will just take for granted.
Very important research at an important time.
One of the challenges in conflicts the world over is that the people who experience violence, who suffer the most, are often not listened to. And so the objective of the research that we've undertaken together with the Coca Center has been to give a voice to the people who are affected and to...
The recommendations of the research are improved trust between security agents and civilians, as well as synergy between government, international and local NGO in addressing humanitarian issues in the area, among others. In Abuja, John Yaku, NTA News.
It was only recently that the Sri Lankan top naval chief was asking countries to seek international collaboration in the fight against terrorism. And as if the German government was there, it has responded in kind. The Nigerian Navy is now 5 gunboats stronger. German Counselor General and Ingo Herbert says Germany is determined to support the Nigerian military in the fight against insurgency. Kingsley Amajiri, who was there, reports that the Chief of Naval Staff pledged to uphold the bilateral accord for a safe sub-Saharan maritime.
The 5.8 petrol-fitted 250 kV Yamaha engines built locally by the Epinard Group was donated to the Nigerian Navy by the German authorities through its consulate in Nigeria. Nigeria, being strategic to the Germans' interest in the sub-Saharan African region, informed the decision of German government support to Nigeria towards combating insecurity in its maritime domain. Chief of Naval Staff, represented by the Chief of Logistics Naval Headquarters, Rear Admiral James Oluwole, said the Nigerian Navy is poised to sanitizing the Nigerian waterways for the benefits of international partners, just as he called for training for its medical workers to strengthen the gains of the accord. The German delegation was later taken on a boat ride through the creeks of the Niger Delta region towards appreciating the security situation in the region. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
The federal government has asked contractors handling reinforcement work on the Tambarawa Bridge in Kano to ensure completion of the project before the rainy season. This was when Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, inspected the bridge, which pillars are being washed away. Mohammed Hamza Sheikh reports.
Built about 30 years ago, the second Tambarawa Bridge is the only link between Kano City and other states on the Eastern Road. All these years, the bridge has been serving for both human and vehicular movement, owing to the high economic and social activities on that road. However, activities such as heavy trucks plying over it, illegal miners and sand sailors under it, have continued to pose serious threat to the life of the all-important bridge. To avert this catastrophe, the federal government awarded contract for securing the bridge through reinforcement of its pillars and embankment. Both Kano State Government and the Kano Emirate Council promised to support the federal government in securing the bridge through banning all human activities likely to affect the bridge negatively.
We'll get whoever is the village or the village heads, because if it's the river, there will be 2 villages, and so we'll get the village heads around the area and give them the instruction, and then we can decide what distance you want.
Contractors handling the project promised that the reinforcement work will be completed before the rainy season. Muhammad Hamza Sheikh, NTA News.
Imagine a scenario where the transport sector in Nigeria becomes stagnant. What will become of the economy? Well, before you begin to crack your brain to ponder on the answer, let's save you the stress as Oyinaya Kaloka takes it from here.
As revealed by the World Development Reports, the world economy is increasingly driven by service-based activities, with logistics and transport service accounting for about 71% of global GDP and expanding fast. While decrying the relatively low contribution of the transportation and logistics sector to the Nigerian economy, experts at the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport Forum pointed out some factors contributing to this.
At the moment, you're 90th in the world in the Logistics Performance Index, and a lot of that, I think, is focusing on infrastructure, but also on logistics skills.
The traffic moves very efficiently, very quickly, but some pedestrians don't seem to obey the rules of the road.
But how true is the assertion? To find out, the crew drove to some major roads in the FCT. This is a typical scenario of the disobedience to the rule of law. Some FCT residents prefer to risk their life rather than using the pedestrian bridge, which is just a stone throw. They have gone to the extent of damaging the barricades in order to have their way. The forum, with participants from about 15 countries, is set to change the narrative.
You have to have rules and regulations, which you all know about like that, but you have to have investment too. Education is a very good way to do it. Of course, the last element is enforcement.
We've been seriously working together.
Representative of the Minister of Transportation, Chibike Rotimi Amechi, the Director of Planning and Research in the Ministry, Wakili Adamu, says federal government is committed to reviving the transport sector.
An opportunity for investors to cash in here, and then whatever we're able to share in terms of experiences and ideas is what we'll come and see how we'll build it.
The first time the forum was held in Nigeria was in 2012. Oyinaya Kalu Oka, NTA News.
Still to come, if you are a farmer, then you must stay on for the 2018 rainy season forecast. This, plus our business news package and more. I'll be right back. You're still watching News Extra on the network service of the NTA. And now for some business news. Nigeria's inflation rate declines for the 13th consecutive month, but was unable to impact positively on equities as the stock exchange's all-share index closed in the red. Musa Toliet is on Business News segment.
Hello and thanks for joining us on Business News segment. Nigeria's inflation rate measured by the Consumer Price Index (CPI) dropped from 15.13% in January to 14.33% in February 2018. In its CPI report for the month of February released on Wednesday in Abuja, the National Bureau of Statistics said the figures showed 13 consecutive reduction in inflation rates since January 2017. The NBS report further showed that food index increased by 17.59% year-on-year in February. This indicates a decline by 1.33% from 18.59% in January. The report also showed an increase in all major food sub-indexes during the month. The Central Bank of Nigeria says whenever there is a need for an intervention fund, there will be a non-interest component attached to it. A member of the CBN Financial Regulatory Council of Experts, Bashir Umar, stated this in a chat with Business News in Lagos.
The non-interest component to this kind of funds will bring together the asset-based financing that adds value and create a multiplier effect on the economy into the intervention scheme of the federal government.
The International Monetary Fund (IMF) has recommended a 100% increase in excise duties imposed on tobacco and alcohol by the federal government. In its 2018 mission report, the fund said there is need for Nigeria to raise the excise duty on a stick of cigarette to 5 naira as against the 1 naira recently approved by the federal government. The IMF also wants the federal government to review upwards the current rate of 20% duty on alcohol to reflect the external cost of consumption and production as a fail-proof revenue-raising strategy. Time now to have a quick check on midweek movement of equities on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
Trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange depreciated by 0.54%, with an all-share index which stood at 42,839 and a volume of 373 million shares valued at 6 billion naira, which exchanged hands in 5,220 deals with a market capitalization of 15 trillion naira. Nigerian breweries, Stanbic, Dangote Cement, Fitson, and USA Property topped the gainers table, while Nestle, Dangote Sugar, Cadbury, and Nascon led the losers table.
That's it on Business News segment. Thanks for watching. News Extra continues shortly. Stay tuned.
A rainy season to commence in March in most parts of the country. The season is expected to last up to December in the southern parts. The country will also experience higher temperatures during the period. All these are contained in the weather outlook for 2018 by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, which was released by the Minister of State for Aviation, Hadi Sirika. Musa Baba Aliyu has more.
The 2018 weather prediction contains rainfall and temperature outlook for the year. The predictions indicate that the northern part of the country will experience short period of rainfall during the year, while the rain in the southern part of the country is predicted to be accompanied by flash floods due to high intensity.
We are expecting that the dry spells over the country is likely going to be more problematic in certain locations, particularly Sokoto, Zamfara, Katsina, Kano, Kebbi, Yobe, and Borno.
The seasonal rainfall prediction is not only to serve as a guide for crop production, but also for military operations, aviation, as well as vehicular movement, as described by the Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika.
The role of NIMET in this regard is therefore very, very vital and important, and I assure Nigerians that the Federal Ministry of Transportation will continue to support NIMET to discharge this responsibility to the nation.
With the release of the weather prediction, the federal government is expected to provide flood outlook for the year in due course. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Water is life. That is a fact. A lot of things begin to go wrong when a community begins to lack water for drinking, other domestic uses, or irrigation. That is fast becoming the lot of the people of Sokoto and Kebbi states, with the continued shrinking of the Goronyo Dam. Mohammed Datti tells us more about the problems the shrinking dam is throwing up to the people.
Goronyo Dam is one of the largest dams in Nigeria. The dam, built across River Rima, was constructed and completed in May 1984 and inaugurated in 1992. It is a multi-purpose storage dam designed to store 976 million cubic meters of water for irrigation and development of downstream areas from Goronyo to Argungu in Kebbi State, covering an area of over 17,000 hectares. The dam, which is 288 meters high above sea level, now is however drying up just 17 meters above sea level.
If you take the case of low amount of rainfall we have received in the year, all that has to do with rainfall variability that is occurring within the sub-Saharan Africa, and it's all related to the issue of climate change.
Managing Director, Sokoto Rima River Basin Development Authority, Bahari Bature, said the multi-million naira dam is drying up, and that is badly affecting water for domestic and irrigation purposes in Sokoto and Kebbi states. Governor Aminu Waziri Tambol of Sokoto State, who was at the Goronyo Dam to see things for himself, expressed shock with the way the dam is drying up.
Very much concerned about what is happening. We are not abdicating from our responsibility.
The famous river Argungu is gradually drying up, and aquatic animals in the river are beaching. Meanwhile, the governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bagudu, has donated 10 million naira for immediate action to be taken to save the river.
The effect of climate change, particularly the shortage of water from Bakalori and Goronyo Dam, is already impacting on fishing resources and making the dry season farming more onerous.
Some farmers who spoke to NTA News said they have never witnessed such phenomenon throughout their lives, where dams and rivers are drying up. Hence the need for government to, as a matter of urgency, do something to check the problem. In Sokoto, Show Muhammad Datti, and
we are all aware President Muhammadu Buhari recently signed the Executive Order 5. The intention is to promote the use of local content and indigenous technology for Nigeria's industrial growth and self-dependence. With this as his background, correspondent Abdullahi Garba Birnin-Kudu, on special assignment, was attracted to a factory that is 98% Nigerian. Over to you, Abdullahi.
Welcome to West African Ceramics Limited, located in over 3,000 square kilometers of vast land of the economically viable land of Ajaokuta in Kogi State. This company that started its operations 18 years ago in Suleja, Nigeria, can be regarded as a good example of what President Muhammadu Buhari has been encouraging on the use of local resources and content. It is gladdening to know that its production materials are sourced in Nigeria, bringing to the fore the abundant mineral deposits the country is blessed with. For instance, they source plastic clay in Abia, kaolin in Bauchi, limestone in Kogi and Edo, talc in Kebbi, black talc in Gwagwalada FCT, while red clay and white clay are found in Suleja and Kwali. A good thing is that the ceramic product equates those produced anywhere in the world in terms of quality and affordability.
A raw material that is key to the manufacturing industry is being sourced locally.
One will also be amazed by the number of Nigerians engaged to showcase their talents. It is quite encouraging to see how these young Nigerians operate production machines from the first stage of raw materials to the final products. The location of the West African ceramics has boosted economic activities in Ajaokuta, with more than 60% of the production staff indigenous of the villages around. This has ended idleness and checked unwanted behavior in the area.
They've given over 2,000 people jobs, direct and indirect.
The level of crime is very, very low because they have engaged some of those boys that are idle.
The company did not stop at that. It is complementing the host community with corporate social services, with roads, water, electricity, and religious buildings provided. For now, the company is expanding its use of local technology and materials with the intention of establishing another factory to produce marbles and granite, the first in Africa.
This new government, it is encouraging the indigenous product, indigenous raw material. Is a very important, and this is a good progress for any developing country, especially Nigeria. It is the best, and it is progressing well. Made with all glazed tiles.
There is no doubt the presence of these industries in Ajaokuta has filled in the existing gap created by the non-completion of the Ajaokuta steel. It has also promoted the Muhammadu Buhari's policy of diversifying the economy of the country as well as promoting local content. In Ajaokuta, Kogi State, Abdullahi Garba Birnin-Kudu, NTA News.
Thank you very much, Abdullahi. Since its independence in 1965, the Republic of the Gambia has remained a beneficiary of Nigeria's enormous human and natural resources. Call it playing the big brother role, and you'll not be wrong. Defense correspondent Isaac Nkuma, just back from the Gambia, tells us how Nigeria is leading the pack in stabilizing the country after the 2017 political impasse.
Because I read in the books at the time that when they got independence in 65, we were actually giving them about 20,000 barrels of oil per day, free of charge.
Surrounded by Senegal except for its coastline on the Atlantic, Republic of the Gambia is the smallest country on mainland Africa. With a landmass of 10,689 square kilometers and an estimated population of a little more than 2 million people, the Gambia's economy is dominated by farming, fishing, and especially tourism. However, the 2017 political impasse shook the economy and political stability of the country, prompting ECOWAS to step in, with Nigeria playing a key role in the process in all sectors.
From the inception of the Technical Aid Corps in 1986, when it was established, as alternative to cash assistance to needy countries, why don't you send manpower assistance? Gambia was one of the biggest beneficiary right from the word go. We actually established the Gambian judiciary. From up till 2017 January, the Chief Justice was a Nigerian.
Today, Nigerian troops under the ECOWAS troops in the Gambia, ECOMIG, is handling major security duties across the country and protecting some of its national assets. Even in the tourism sector, Nigerians are bringing their expertise to bear.
After the transition to the new government, I must say that there's been quite a remarkable change, whereby we have quite a number of people from all over the world coming down here to visit. So in comparison to the year before, there's been quite a significant change.
A study tour by the National Defense College is seeking to find out if there are lessons to be learned from the Gambian experience and possible benefits for the support by Nigeria. For now, more than 200 requests have been made for Nigerian judges, professors, doctors and other professionals to the Gambia. Isaac Nkuma, NTA News.
Still ahead, and the next segment focuses on education. You don't want to miss the latest on the 3-month-old strike by non-teaching staff of universities and other interesting stories. Stay with us. Welcome back. We now continue News Extra as we look at the educational sector. The 3-month-old industrial action embarked upon by the university's non-teaching staff has been suspended following government promises to implement agreements reached within 5 weeks. Correspondent Emmanuel Anyimiro reports that the suspension of the strike was announced at an emergency meeting of the union in Abuja.
Having the mandate of the various unions to accept the Memorandum of Understanding signed with the government last week, the Joint Action Committee of NAT, NASU and SANU announced the suspension of the strike. The workers are optimistic that some of their demands are going to be met by the government.
The understanding that was reached gave a 5-week period for the implementation of payment of a fraction of the arrears owed on earned allowances to our members, and also report progress made in respect of countries 14 and 15 for technologies. Similarly, the issue of staff school is to be taken up by the Federal Ministry of Education with the National Salary Incomes and Wages Commission. We have therefore directed our members to resume work Thursday, 15th March 2018.
Apart from the promises for the implementation of the agreement within 5 weeks by the government, the union says the suspension of the 3-month industrial action was due to extensive consultation with various organs and therefore appeal to members to show more commitments towards covering lost ground occasioned by the industrial action. Emmanuel Ayemiro, NTA News.
Thanks, Emmanuel. And still on education, science and technology, innovation and engineering advancement play critical roles in industrialization. The federal government, mindful of this, and in its bid to promote indigenous technology and innovation, has been holding annual technology and innovation expos. Analysts say there is the strong political will and appreciable success in the drive for industrialization. This, they say, can be strengthened through a culture of intellectual property and private sector investment for commercialization. Views shared by discussants on NTA's current affairs program Tuesday Live on the topic Science and Technology Innovation for Development. Over to Talatu Ezirike.
Science and technology, innovation and engineering advancement are among indices used to measure nations' might for industrialization. Analysts say Nigeria is catching up with arrays of innovations coupled with enabling environment, especially the executive Order 5, to promote local content and protect intellectual property.
FIRO has come out with quite a number of products, and one of those products is this high-density biscuit. It has entered into partnership with NASCO. NASCO was only able to come in because that technology is protected.
Because we can't keep relying on a foreign country to bring in technology for us. We're talking about indigenization of this technology, homegrown capacity in technology.
For others, issues of adequate funding, modification and improvement, particularly with finishing, should be taken seriously.
The other thing that drives innovation, I keep saying, is self-pride. As a Nigerian, are you proud that you are using a made in Nigeria? Are you proud that you are contributing to somebody else's happiness, that somebody is using your product and it's made in Nigeria?
We'll say we've done well.
It is strongly held that Nigeria must get it right with science and technology to take her rightful place amongst Committee of Nations. Talatu Ezerike, NTA News.
Thanks, Talatu. Those who conceived the National Primary School Feeding Program had lofty hopes of its success and the improvement of school enrollment. Down the line, a lot of problems have reared up, some bordering on outright abuse of the program for selfish gains. In Kano State, we are told that what is hampering the program is inadequate funding, which is depriving over 1.2 million primary school pupils of feeding while in school. Fatima Sanus Karaye says 2 million pupils drawn from 6,000 primary schools in the state were captured under the program.
2 times 1, 2 times 2.
This is one of the primary schools in Kano benefiting from the National Homegrown Feeding Program, which is part of the 500 billion naira funded social investment program in the country. In Kano, under the arrangement, the federal government is expected to spend about 800 million naira to feed 1.9 million pupils of primary 1 to 3 in the state. So far, 417 million naira was released as against the 800 million naira. As a result, only 7,000 food vendors were employed instead of the 13,000 earmarked.
The challenges, one, the release of money. Last term, only 2 weeks has been released for the feeding. And this term also, we are now in the 10th week and only 2 weeks was released.
The initiative has generated a chain of employment to many and has encouraged school enrollment and completion, as statistics have shown that enrollment has risen from 30 to 80% in the state.
Okay, it avoids lateness, and the people are very much punctual because they are aware government is going to feed them, and some of the people doesn't even eat at their homes.
Mustafa Musa, a 9-year-old, is among the lucky beneficiaries who is always eager for a day in school.
Yes, I am enjoying my food.
The program also covers children with special needs. At Gidangona Primary School at Taroni local government area, children with special needs are joyous, looking forward to a day in school where they are sure of one good meal. This is one of the 7,000 food vendors in Kano, and they are of the opinion that the sustenance of this laudable project initiated by the federal government will largely depend on the prompt release of funds by the federal government, so that the likes of Mustafa Musa will continue to enjoy nutritious food, and farmers across the country will have off-takers of their produce. In Kano, Fatima Sanusi Karai, NTA News.
Thanks, Fatima. So far, so good for me. I hope I'm speaking for you too. Just one more segment to go, and sports is definitely part of it. Don't go away. And now to the last stretch of this marathon, but very exciting news extra. Shortly after his sack, former U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson reacted to the action of President Donald Trump. For this and other news making the headlines on the international scene, Obiageli Ugokwe is standing by.
Hello and welcome. We'll begin with political development in Sierra Leone, where SQ leader leads in the first round of the country's election held on 7th of this month. Julius Maada Bio, who once led the military junta in the country, now faces a runoff. He has secured 43.3% of the vote, short of the 55% he needed to avoid the second round. He will face the ruling party's candidate, Samura Kamara, who is behind by just 0.6%. In another development, Angela Merkel has been sworn in as German Chancellor after a month of political unrest that left her weakened. Germany's parliament approved her re-election by 364 votes to 315. While addressing the parliament, Mrs. Merkel vowed to get to work quickly after the longest period of coalition building in post-Germany war. She says 23 Russian diplomats will be expelled for their alleged complacency in the Russian spy poisoning in Britain. It is her fourth term in office. And before we go, sacked U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson has warned of Russia's troubling behavior and actions in parting statements after being fired by President Donald Trump. The former ExxonMobil chief had series of public rifts with the White House after being appointed last year. President Trump officially fired Mr. Tillerson via Twitter Tuesday, naming CIA Director Mike Pompeo as his replacement. And that's it from here. Do stay tuned for the rest of the news.
In sports now, Enyimba International Football Club to returning to playing at home before May 2018 as Venus Williams progresses to quarterfinals at Indian Wells. Amanze Marcus has more on Sports Update.
The Nigeria Basketball Federation has released its official team list for the 21st Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast, Australia. The technical crew led by Alex Onwora compiled the list following a month of campaign in Lagos, with NBBF Secretary Chimezie Asiabu releasing the list to the media. There are 6 home-based players and 6 foreign-based players in the team, with Ike Diogu, who plies his trade with Henan in the Chinese League, as captain. Meanwhile, supporters of the People's Elephant, Enyimba International, will soon welcome their team back to Aba, as the Abia state government has reassured that the stadium will be ready in 6 weeks' time. Governor Okezie Ikpeazu made the promise Tuesday when he visited the Enyimba Stadium being reconstructed. He revealed that money agreed for the project has been released to the contractor handling the project, which made the contractor to assure that in less than a month's time, the regrassing of the playing turf will be completed. In a related development, former coach of Niger Tornadoes Football Club of Mina, Abubakar Bala, has replaced John Obu as technical advisor of Kwara United Football Club of Ilorin. Media officer of the club, Abdul Wahid Bibire, said the change is to ensure Kwara United does not go back to the Nigerian National League from where it was promoted. The club is last on the MPFL log, having won only 3 matches, drawn 2 and lost 7 to occupy the 20th position. From the BNP Paribas Open in California, Venus Williams progressed to the quarterfinals with a 7-6-6-4 win over Anastasia Sevastova of Latvia, and now faces Carla Suarez Navarro on Thursday. With Sports Update, Amanze Marcus, NTA News.
And now a quick look at tomorrow's weather forecast.
Thanks for staying tuned on the website.